Welcome to Born to Hustle. This is Roham Carrion. I'm here interviewing David Chavera, right?
David Chavera.
Yeah, David Chavera. All right, awesome. So he's a sound engineer. He's been in the industry for how many years would you say?
Let's see. I've been producing music since maybe 21. So I'm 30 now. So 9 years.
9 years?
Yeah.
Did that actually flew by? Did you feel those 9 years? I mean, more or less, what would you say? How was your experience in the industry?
Uh, you know, I feel it, but I only feel it like, oh, I'm 30. Like the back, the back pain, the wear and tear of life. But I'm an independent music producer, so I really don't have the experience of like working with XYZ famous person and famous studio. But I do more so independent, thanks to the internet. A lot of my sales and operations is online, and it kind of flew by. And so I don't think of it like in terms of it's easy to see how fast it flew by, but then I'm reminded that I've been doing it for a while when I work with other people, and then the way my techniques are now, they're really polished. And when people say things and I'm able to jump in and then explain them, I'm like, oh, I've been doing this for a while, actually.
Oh, man. And let me ask you a question, because getting into the music industry, I will not pretend I know much about it, but I know that it's really hard to get into, let alone stay into it. So I'm curious, dude, like what ignited you to even begin that hustle?
Yeah, depression.
Depression?
Depression.
Legit?
Yeah, depression. Let's see. When I was like 22, I got my heart broken, like most young men, and
Legit.
yeah, I got my heart broken, and I needed to do something healthy because there's a bunch of unhealthy things you could do, and music. I have a background as a musician. As a kid, I played clarinet, saxophone, a few instruments in band, but I'd never really got into like making music like I do now. It was kind of by accident, and depression is really what helped me rediscover it. I bought a little drum machine. It's a software by Native Instruments and a keypad, and I just started making these horrendous beats that now that I look back and listen to, I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? But it helped me at the time, and continually music has been something that has helped me with my challenges that I face in my life. And eventually it got to a point where I started making money by selling my beats online, and then I really got into working with clients, because rap music, I mean, I thank God for rap every day. That rap music has helped me so much. I mean, I like all types of music, but rap, that's...
I mean, what about rap specifically that really like ignites it? Like, is it the style that is more like your preference, or is it the way it's portrayed as an art, or like what is it specifically about rap music that really like keeps you going?
Man, that's there's so many ways to answer.
Let's talk about associated with the depression. Like, let's talk about mentally and how it made you feel emotionally, and then we'll tackle it, expand it from there.
Yeah, so a good friend of mine once said something about as humans, we all have this excess energy that throughout the day, and so what I really love about rap is that it just speaks to my soul and helps me express that energy. And there are songs that, and I don't know the science behind this, there are songs I listen to that are so degenerate in nature. They say things that are not my life, and I'm not even about that life, but I hear that song, and then that energy I have, maybe the stress of the day, maybe the hatred I had for a former boss or something, I hate traffic, whatever, it helps me let that all out. And then I'm a naturally shy person, but when I hear some of these songs, like I'll start head bopping, and then I'll start dancing, and then I'll start freestyling, and then so on and so forth. It just becomes a whole thing.
Okay, that's beautiful. So that's just wanted to understand it, because I mean, I like rap myself,
Yeah.
but I'm Puerto Rican. We're more about the reggaeton. So it's like, I
Oh, yeah.
mean, many of us may or may not disagree, but sometimes it feels like it's rap but in Spanish.
I feel that.
Every now
I
and
agree
then,
with
like
that.
not all the songs, of course, but yes. And I mean, the only thing I would say is that I do like it because it feels like the vibe, like
Yeah.
you're following the vibe with the individual compared to an original song where you're just enjoying the lyrics and you're enjoying the. It feels like it's a story rather than actually portraying. It feels more connected to the individual.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree or disagree with that. And you practicing, I mean, how long? Like you started initiating this, how long did it took you before you started being able to monetize
Oh,
it?
forever. Forever, and it's still something that I'm working on. It's still like I don't want to make any claims that I'm like a guru cuz I'm not or that I've achieved incredible. I mean, I still have a day job, but it came about when I started actively trying to build an audience, a
Mm.
community. And I'm a huge nerd, and I'd been reading for many years, like marketing books and book after book, all the ones that they recommend all entrepreneurs. But then I really actually started wanting to connect with the people that were following my Instagram and my socials. So I noticed that when I started showing love to the artists, when I started genuinely not just going in and making those dumb spam comments that everybody does on Instagram, but going in, listening to their music, and then putting it on my Spotify and like actually hearing what people were putting out as artists who were already following me and engaging with me. I like really internalized that. I started saying to myself in the shower, my community, these are my people. And like I started really associating myself with them, even though they're in Switzerland or Germany or wherever. And so when I started making that connection, my music naturally started adopting their elements, and people like buying from people. So then they naturally started buying from me, and so on and so forth.
It became like a referral kind of deal, like mouth to mouth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can understand that. Like it really changes the game when it like emotionally speaking, you are involved in your work and you're not just doing it like a job. You're not just doing it like a task. Because I can completely understand that. So you basically tailor your music and you tailored everything down to your community, and because of that, over time, before you knew it, you somehow initiated monetizing it. Were you even thinking about making money from this industry at all, or were you just doing it out of the passion?
No, I definitely wanted to make money. I definitely, I have a day job and I like my career, but music's where my heart's at, and I really want to get to the point where that's what I do, and then maybe even beyond music. And once I have financial stability with that, I would like to go into more advocacy work, actually. But yeah, I would like to monetize more.
You're a sound engineer, correct?
Yeah, so I guess it's hard to say because as a producer you wear so many hats, or anybody in music wears so many hats, so it's hard to like identify.
Hmm.
But I guess more accurately, I'm a music producer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, just asking because I was gonna ask you like, now that you're being in the hustle, you have the ignition, you've been doing it for quite some time. I was wondering like, what will be the next step? Like, what is the vision right now that you would say in order for you to grow?
Yeah, I think two-part answer. One is I want to invest more in my video editing.
Hmm.
So I recently, or maybe not so recently, came to the terms that music is just one side of the creative, kind of going back to that wearing many hats thing. With all the social media and all the platforms, all the visual platforms we have, it's really not enough to just be a painter or, in this case, be a musician. I really wanted to add more visuals. And when I hear songs, just as the everyday consumer, whether it's jazz or rock, but especially hip hop and instrumentals, like I feel like I see colors. Maybe not literally, but like I'll challenge myself. I'll be like, oh, that song right there, it's like a poppy, bright blue. It's color. And so I want to try to find a way to translate that to my music. I'm currently learning Adobe After Effects. I really thought I could learn it in like a day, but I
Mm-mm.
can't.
Dude, I've been using Adobe Creative Cloud for the last 2 years, and there's still so much to learn.
So
And the
hard.
thing is, Adobe keeps updating it. They keep doing different softwares. Adobe is awesome.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Adobe Podcast?
No, I
Some
haven't.
people even use it, not even for podcasting. They're just using it to segregate sounds. So
Oh,
like let's just say you're singing, and let's just say for some reason you're a startup business and you're doing it in your garage,
yeah.
like for example. Some people are using Adobe Podcast to remove the background noise, in order for them to just have their music, and then you will make the post production easier afterwards.
I had no idea.
You see what I'm telling you?
Yeah,
So
that's
here, and we're
smart.
talking about Adobe. You probably have a subscription with them, more or less, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't even know about that. And then the thing is, I've been having it for these 2 years, and I'm still learning. I go to Illustrator sometimes. I'm like, oh, so that's what that tool is for. Or like, oh, so that's how you use that filter. And the thing is, you want to enhance your music, right? So
Yeah.
I'm assuming you also create the cover art, right?
Yeah.
That's another hat right there.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if you use Adobe or do you use a different software?
My cover stuff is even more basic. There's an app on phones I use. It's called Prequel, and I think there's a free version, but I pay like $10 a month to use it, and it just has these effect filters that I really like, and I'm really kind of obsessed with the '90s. You know, when people had camcorders, VHS.
Hmm.
I'm really kind of obsessed with that, so I use that for a lot of my cover art
No,
stuff.
that makes sense. That makes sense. So that's another hat right there that you're doing. You're creating the cover art and sound production. That's a very interesting industry. I'm not gonna lie. Like what would you say right now, since you've been doing this for 9 years, right? And what is an advice that you would give yourself after all this time? Let's just say you, when you were 22,
Hmm.
1 week into doing this, what would be your advice?
Be patient.
Be patient.
Be patient.
How come? I'm curious about that because, I mean, obviously everything takes patience, but like, what kind of patience? Like, are you talking about patient or like be genuinely patient?
Yeah, like a little bit of both. Maybe more of the second one because I there are people who have different trajectories. Music and art in general is
Hmm.
just a non-linear progression. It's not like if you were working in. I mean, I guess I don't want to diminish anybody's skill set or whatever, but it just feels, especially with art, because you do need a certain level of technical competency
Hmm.
in all of it, even if you're a sculptor, pottery. But there's also with something like music where it's really felt, where it's this not a tangible product necessarily. It exists in pressure and sound waves, and um, it has to be emotional. It has to make that connection.
Oh,
And
I'm kind of like understanding right now what you mean because there's a few songs that I can think about that they actually connect to me. Like the
yeah,
tonality and the way the background noise, the way it synchronizes, like it really stuck to my head.
yeah.
I'm assuming that's what you're trying to achieve, right? Like where they listen to it and then it just really resonates with the listener right away rather than just listening to a song. Because some songs, they listen it doesn't resonate, and they just click next.
Yeah,
So I can see what you mean. So that's what you mean by that. And
yeah.
more or less, how much time would you say that would take? Like a guesstimate. Like I know everything is always a depends. There's
Right.
never a grading, a white and black answer. Like,
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even think I've achieved it yet. Although some people will say, some people. I'm my own harshest critic. So I have people that like, they love my music. They tell me all these nice things, but I feel like I haven't yet. So I couldn't say. What I will say is that, I mean, who knows? Who knows? That's why even I'm telling myself now, be patient. I keep thinking to that famous painter Van Gogh, the Van Gogh, the Starry Night
yeah,
guy.
never heard of him.
Oh
Continue.
no. The he died, and it was like a good 60 years before people were like, oh yeah, and they saw the value, and now he's like one of the most renowned painters of all time. Hopefully that doesn't happen here. Hopefully that doesn't happen to anyone, but
I can see what you mean. Hopefully you good on him, but you don't want to relate. You know.
no. I mean, we have social media. Hopefully something. But
You know what? Something about it is like now that social media is a thing. I know I have no idea what it means to be someone in your position before social media even was a thing. I believe maybe it was even harder. So now that you're connecting with your community, right?
mhm.
Um, more or less, when did that started? Out of the 9 years into the business, we know what ignites it. I know what keeps you going. I know that you wanted to monetize it. We more now we know that if you can go back in time and tell him, hey, younger me, like David, be patient.
Yeah.
What was the part that initiated the community? Like I feel like that was a big point of transformation for you.
Yeah. I think in the past 3 years, I really started working on. Well, so my day job, my my career outside of music is I've been in B2B sales, business to business sales, and for the first, so I've been in it for 6 years, and the first 4 years, all I did for large companies, large wealthy successful companies, was I was cold calling and cold emailing and really trying to get a hold of business leaders who could potentially use our product.
Mm-hmm.
So translation, I was interrupting their day. I was trying to stand out amongst all the spammers and talk to them within the 30 seconds they were on the phone with me to like, hey, please meet my sales colleague because this product can really advance your business. Not that many people want to do that, but that's kind of what I'm good at. And that profession is blood, sweat, and tears. You can make a lot of money. And so I don't personally have a $10,000 budget to hire. Um, I mean, you could outsource for much less people who would go on social media and find artists and um, talk to them and so on and so forth. But what I what I started doing was, okay, this is what I do for my day job. I'm gonna go on social media now. Instagram's my main platform, and I'm gonna look at the hashtags. I'm gonna see where on the internet my ideal client hangs out, and I'm gonna organically reach out to them. I'm gonna interact with them, and it's blood, sweat, and tears. It's there. It's a slow process, but every now and then you start to meet and organize. You say, okay, this person is starting out. You could hear it in their music. You see it in their following numbers. You see it in their art. They're not as mature yet, but I still resonate. I genuinely resonate with what they're saying, with where they're at in life, with who they are or who they're portraying. So I'm going to follow. I'm going to show love. I can't follow everybody, but if I don't follow, I show love. I'll email them. Sometimes they'll put their email, or I'll find someone. This person has 10,000 followers. I really like this person's art. I'm just going to send them beats. And that's another thing with music. When I was first starting out, I was so guarded. Like, I don't want nobody to steal my music.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah. I faced that issue myself when I started becoming a business owner myself. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Not only with just people outside, but also with my family. Didn't want anybody to know my business. I very secretive, very just like I like everything cold.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of like, well, if he tells me no, like it doesn't matter, we'll move on with our lives. But if I tell that to my best friend and he says no, but I'm gonna see him on a barbecue next Friday. That's
Yeah.
a different story. So I know exactly what I feel that spiritually. When you said that, it resonated with you. I was like, yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's
And it
hard.
took a lot of bravery. I don't know if you have, but I have to. I went through a little journey just to like finally be out there, friends and family included.
Yeah.
Like that was I feel like many people don't talk about this, reaching out to their friends and family, especially when it is your business, and it's just a different animal. Like it's more because on the quotes, it just depends on the individual. For me, I can do what you can, business to business,
Yeah.
cold calling, cold emails, because I can take rejection and I can move on. We can both do so because I understand their point of view and I understand my point of view. My point of view is I do have something that I want to offer you. And their point of view is I just want to get to the day, mind my own business. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one telling you we can elevate your business. Like
Yeah.
that pitch gets old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why you have to and that's what I like about social media. They get to know you on a personal level and understand that you're not just among another individual, but it gets to know you down like who you are. And I feel like that leverages more as a business owner nowadays, especially you producing music. Now you have something to interact and tailor with compared to just doing it cold. Because if you're doing it cold, realistically, who are you tailoring with?
Yeah. That's true.
Because if you tailor to the general market, if there's something that I've learned in business is, I'll give you an example. CNC, you know what that is? They basically make custom parts out of metal.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like they use machines and stuff like that. There's CNC companies that say we're a general CNC machinist. That's cool. That's awesome. You can do a lot of cool stuff. Technically, you would have assumed that you will get more customers because of that. Not necessarily. You
Yeah.
need to be tailored just a little bit. Not saying that you shouldn't be generalized, but they should find a specialty, and now you're getting more clientele because you're tailoring yourself to a specific industry or specific sector or specific type of customer. And because of that alone, you're gonna get that consistency. If you're very generalized, nobody's gonna find you. Because let's just say I'll give you an example, Toyota. Toyota has a plant here in San Antonio, and it's awesome. But when they look for outsourcing, they're looking specializations. They're looking for something specific. They're not just looking for a company that says, "Oh, we do everything." Cool. Well, I'm looking for maybe something for the frame of the car. We're looking for a machinist that can actually make the tie or whatever it's actually called to actually specifically make for something for cars. So they're getting down to the niche.
Yeah.
And you having a community, you have that opportunity to have that niche. If you're generalized, you're not gonna have it. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You definitely agree. That's
Definitely.
yeah, like having a
110%.
community. That's what I love about it. So I'm glad that you do because now that you've been doing this for 9 years and hopefully for the years to come, I would assume that you're gonna like. How many times do you do you have an opportunity to retailer, meaning that you were tailoring just to your community, but you know how people change, stuff
Yeah.
changes. Did you change your tailoring in the future? Like, have you been
Yeah.
changing every now and then?
Yeah, definitely. It's such a actually a really difficult thing that I it's always top of mind because there are genres I lean to, right? And that those genres would be like emo hip hop. People would even say they describe my beats as being ethereal, so like real. People have even said lo-fi. I don't see lo-fi. They say it's like lo-fi, some of the elements, because a lot of my music is not as hard as, for example, like the producers for like the baby, like or um, even like a more mainstream example. We can even like I don't know. It's just not really like it's not hardcore drill. It's not like, but it's really emotional sometimes, and there is a heavy bass in there. It's so to answer your question, yes, I've changed it up, and also I'm human too. Sometimes I open up my computer. I don't want to make a emo rap beat, even though I love the genre. I'm just feeling something different. I want to
Mm-hmm.
experiment, and so I'm still discovering how. 'Cause ideally, what I want to get to is a point in my career where whatever I make, even if it's jazz,
Mm-hmm.
people can hear elements of my production and they're like, oh, even if I didn't tag the beat, people could be like, oh, Ominous made that. And that would be,
That's your personality, right?
yeah.
Yes, yes. So you already have a personality, community, and everything, and it's tailored. Yeah, I can definitely tell you've been doing this for 9 years. Because anybody who's been doing this for 6 months, it doesn't normally happen.
Yeah.
And speaking about personality, how long have you kept that like quote unquote personality? Because I know, have you changed it in the past? Was it remain consistent for this 9 years? Like,
Yeah. So I originally wanted to be something like ambient music style, something like that. But the acronym stands for AMS,
mhm.
and I think that's a medical disease. I got to double check. I got to.
I'm not. I don't even know. I wouldn't be able to tell you if it is, if it's not.
I think it is. I got it, but I remember when I mentioned it at a party, my buddy was like, "Hey, yo, like, that's a disease," and I said, "Well, okay, now I don't want to be that. I don't want to." So
Well, I mean, was that individual within the industry? Was he a client, a
he
customer, or just
was
some random guy out there?
he was just some random guy, but well, he's a friend. He's a friend. He's a friend. He wasn't just a random drunk guy at a party, but he was a friend. And then I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I even if, so. And then I thought, okay, ambient's probably a little too generic for me. Like so I wanted to be ominous, melancholic style because uh, depression and we have this little dance going on, and maybe that could be part of the name. But then I told it to an Uber driver one day, and then he was trying to type my name in, and I was like, God, this is long. So so
So you went to ominous style, right?
ominous music style, yeah,
Okay.
and still kind of long, but
I mean, no, but it's doable. It's doable.
a little easier on the ear, right?
Yeah, not just in the ear, but to basically write it on your own. Because if you go in like uh, a weird name, and he's like, "How do you spell it?" And I'm like, like that means that whenever you have a conversation in the future with other people, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out." And chances are they're not gonna find you because
Yeah.
they don't even know how to spell it. And you know how Google is.
Facts.
There's billions of websites, and billions of like what's it called, like where it sounds about the same,
Hmm.
and then therefore they're definitely not gonna find you. So that's you connected to the audience, and what else? What would be another thing that you would say that has definitely helped you, grow within this industry?
Uh, two things: consistency, which is kind of the no-brainer. So constantly creating, constantly listening. Also, okay, like three things: consistency with the work, and then the intention, but also giving yourself the freedom to take breaks. Like I've taken breaks from music. I've taken entire breaks like for 3 months because my computer broke a few years ago. I didn't have the money to fix it, and so I just had to take a break. There's just nothing I could do. Um, so being consistent, staying with that intention of I'm creating. I don't know where I'm going on this path, but I want. I keep telling myself I want to be heard, and then years went by, and it's like I want to connect with others. And then now where I'm at in my life, in my personal life, I want to make an impact. That's the thing that's in the back of my head. And then I'll say other big advice is you don't know what you don't know. YouTube tutorials, all that stuff is great. Find somebody whom you respect, who you get along with, who you don't mind paying. Go to that engineer, whatever it is. If you want to learn piano more, singing, for me, it was better production. I wanted to get better at my mixing, my sound engineer work. So I approached a guy at a studio, which, by the way, it's a studio in Austin. I really recommend Dub Academy. Shout out. My buddy Brett. Yeah, I had started taking engineering lessons for him, and that in of itself, like those private one-on-one lessons, really helped me elevate my craft because you don't know what you don't know, and it's a blessing to have a mentor, even if you got to pay for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, mentorship wise, I feel that there's a lot of things. It's so underrated nowadays. A lot of people want to figure out things on their own, and I understand that. Other people just pay other professionals to do the work for them.
Mm.
I would prefer a mentor.
Yeah,
Yeah, like you're paying him and he's doing some work for you, but at the same time, I feel like it's really good to have surface knowledge, at least to have a really good idea. Because let's be honest here, you wear all the hats, right?
yeah,
So when you outsource, is it fair to say that you know when it's fair pricing? Like you know whether he's ripping you off or not.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Like like when you're outsourcing, like for example, there was a time I was building websites,
Hmm.
and I'm not gonna. It's been a long time, so I don't feel like my skills are where they used to be. But whenever I come to someone and say, "Hey man, can you help me build a website?" I can tell whether they're just using a website builder like WordPress or Wix, and they're charging you as a professional, but they're not actually professionals, and they're charging you $500 for it, and that's a ripoff in a way,
Yeah,
right? Now, obviously, Born to Hustle, the podcast is to respect the hustle. So if I met somebody who does that and that's how he's making money, then you gotta respect the hustle, right? I mean, at the end of the day, he's still giving. Because when it comes to, there's two things you can do. Either you sacrifice your time so you can spend the money, okay, making the money like that, or you are sacrificing somebody else's time, but you're sacrificing your money for you to save time. So it's like a little cycle. Either you pay somebody to do it, and you're saving yourself time, or you have to spend the time so you can make the money for it. So it just goes back and forth in that little circle. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah, absolutely.
So that me respecting that little hustle, but I know more or less, and I can even look at the website and I can look back to the CSS and HTML and Java because I know surface knowledge from the three of them. So I know whether he actually did a website builder and then sometimes they import it to another builder and sometimes they do embeddeds and stuff like that and it looks legit, but I can tell when it's actually legit or not.
Yeah,
I can even tell if it was built by Dreamweaver, which is the Adobe version of website creation. So and stuff like that. So you being in that aspect, have you ever had an instance where you were outsourcing and you can tell more or less about if they're trying to rip you off or they're not ripping you off? Like, what's the story that you can give me?
yeah. I definitely have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm very, very fortunate because when I started outsourcing, I started with just a little budget, like $10 on Fiverr and stuff like that. And then I was like, oh, okay. Some people I would ask them things. Let's see, what was one? Visual promos were one,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was starting with a budget of $10, $50, some cases $100, and but then you have some people overseas, and not to say that all overseas workers are like this. I've actually done incredible. I worked with somebody on Upwork who did from India who did incredible lead gen stuff. Like I literally have spreadsheets in my hard drive where I follow specific hashtags on Instagram, and I have hundreds, if not thousands, of artists, and they're segmented very detailedly, very nice detailed. And it's not. I use that to keep tabs, try to keep tabs of what's happening. But to go back to your question, those video promos sucked, and I was like, well, this is what $30 gets me. What was I expecting? And I just moved on. I know I learned that for those, if I'm asking for something really creative and I have a specific vision, then I really try to connect with that person and seeing if they're open to a Zoom call before. And then in the Zoom call too, I'll tell them, hey, look, I'm willing to pay you more because I mean, not, if my budget's 30, I can't do 3,000, but like I'll increase that price to something I can do, and I'll tell them my goals. Can you honestly do this? And I get a feel for how they're answering,
Hmm.
even if they're and you've done sales, you've done, that when someone's just telling you what you want to hear,
Yeah.
and your gut knows it.
Yeah, or you want to see some type of proof, like a portfolio or credibility and stuff like that. At least that's what I ask now.
Yeah.
And some of them do,
Good list.
some of them are legit, but they don't have the way to build credibility because they don't know how. And unfortunately, for the sake of safety, I would have to turn them down
Yeah.
because you never know. There's some of them who are very, and you can tell, like the confidence that, like you can pretend confidence, but you can tell when it's coming out naturally
Yeah.
because it's part of their attitude, it's part of their behavior. That's real confidence. Fake confidence is when they're just making a front, and you can tell
Yeah.
that they're using their body language to pretend a certain confidence, but confidence comes naturally.
Yeah.
Like you're like me, the way you're talking to me and you're telling me about the music production, I can see your body language and I can tell that you have a natural confidence that you know the industry because you're legit in the industry.
Yeah. Thank
You
you.
know what I mean? Like I can ask you any questions and you're just gonna answer very casually, and that's a difference right there. If he's someone like, I'll get back to you on that. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if like, have you been doing this for such a long time? I believe or I think those are key words. But if you talk to someone like, for instance, let's just say I want you to make music for me, what would be the first step?
I would ask you what do you want?
I mean, anything. You know what? I like. What's the word for it? I forgot the name of the genre. What is that thing where you do a lot of noises? It sounds like
A few of
a
those. Like
dubstep. There you
dubstep.
go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry,
Yeah.
it took me a minute. Dude. I have ADHD on steroids. So
No,
yes,
no, it's okay.
so dubstep. Like if I would say, can you do dubstep?
I would say no.
Okay,
I would
and that's how I know
yeah.
you're legit because you're straight up, like someone who's not legit would be like, oh man, I can do everything.
Yeah.
Like
No, that's not
like that's
me.
a red flag already. So you're being honest with me, like nah. So what would you tell me in response if I ask you for dubstep?
I would say I would try to get to know a little more about like what you were looking for
Mhm.
specifically in dubstep, and then I'd say, look, I got a few homies that they're great people. I really like their music. I'm not even a dubstep listener, but I like their music. I can connect y'all. I can give y'all a number. Like, do you want to get coffee with them? Do you want their number? I'll just shoot them and then it'll be something like that.
Okay. And then what if I tell you that I want something more ambience like? Let's just say a beat.
A beat. Yeah, I would ask. So then my next question would be, what's your intended use for the, like, are you trying to use it for like a promo? Is it like a corporate endeavor, or is it like a
I would
personal?
say more like a corporate slash party. Let's just say they were, because I host events all over
Okay.
San Antonio and I have speakers and stuff like that. And there be instances when they're networking, but I also, in the future, I want to create more ambience, not just about the colors, not just about the venue. Because for me, right now, as an event planner, the venue for me is very important. It needs to be a really nice place for a reason. I want people to feel like, wow, I'm attending here.
Yeah.
Like I want that experience, and also I want food, obviously, because depending on the time, and I want specifically for snacking. So you're not gonna catch me giving people like burritos or some plate of rice or like
Right.
like I want it to be snacks. I want you to have
Tapas. Yeah.
because I want to like obviously because if it's real eating, most people, including myself, when I eat, I want to sit down and eat.
Same, same.
Like that's what I want to do. I don't want to be eating and talking at the same time. If I want to be doing that, then I might as well just take you guys in a restaurant.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's
if
true.
I'm talking about like an open space venue, then I want it to be snacking, fruits, grapes, vegetables. And I'm telling you all these details because if I do want something like that, then everything I'm assuming when it comes to ambience, everything must matter, right?
Yeah.
The venue is open, it's all beautiful. We're all gonna be standing, just having conversations, and then on top of that, we're gonna have fruits, we're gonna have snacks, we're gonna have coffee and hot chocolate. That's important. Hot chocolate is important.
Yeah. Fact.
Underrated. So yeah, so all of that combined, what kind of ambience would you say that you will create?
Um, so based on what you're describing now, there are two routes because I've had people come to me with this request. Actually three routes. But since you have your own speakers, so sometimes when people approach and ask me this, if I'm in their town, I'm just like, hey, I have speakers. Just I'll come to your event, and then I'll be part of your event, and then my speakers are Bluetooth, and I just go and I have a playlist or whatever, and I set the vibe. Since you have speakers, uh, typically if somebody came to me, my mind would be like, oh, well, how about I just make you a playlist and then one day you owe me a favor. And then the third option is, okay, I can make you a DJ set, like a 1 hour or 2 hour, and then we could and then I'll break down the details. And so the Spotify playlist is more generic, right? And the music might be out there, but you may not vibe to it. But let's say you really want a tailored, like this is an event where it's important to you and you have a certain clientele, and then you want it, if we can achieve a level of detail where money makes sense. So
Mm-hmm.
if it was something where like, hey, I'm going to be hosting 30 events in the next year, these are my, and then I just want music, and you're my buddy, so I would say, oh, let me just make you a playlist and then give you some pointers on what has worked for me. But if you were like, no, this event right here is so important, I'm going to have these real estate people, and then you shared me their age and stuff, and we got down to demographics, then I can really sit there and make a whole 1 hour set, 2 hour set where I incorporate elements of music that I know they like, and I can mix it with house or with lo-fi and just make it a whole vibe.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So there you go. So for you guys listening, that's exactly more or less what a process would look like if you're requesting from David. And now, David, now that you're talking about, but now let's shift the conversation differently because you went tailored specifically to someone like me, and I just wanted to test your going back to confidence, right?
Yeah.
Like you just basically come up with it on the spot, and that's Joe's experience, in my opinion. Someone who doesn't really know anything would probably start looking at their computer and then trying to more or less figure it out. So what is the average request coming from? Like business owners? Do you have other producers? Like what is the general request that you normally get most often within the month?
Send free beats. I'm just
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah, right. So no, yeah, no, I say it, and I don't mean any disrespect to the artists that say send free beats. There are artists that I really like and I really want to work with, and for them, for me, it makes sense for me to send them free stuff because they have a large following or they are very talented, or I am willing to send something to them for free that I would normally charge other people for, because if they make a song and it blows up, we have a relationship now, and it's likely that they're going to want more of that kind of, especially if they had really good success. Okay, monetarily though, the big request I get these days is, especially if I'm in Vancouver, Canada, which is really my home base with the artists that I work with. um, they'll ask me, when can I get in the studio? Like, I like your beats, I would like to record songs. And so in the past year, I've been elevating my engineering, my sound engineering. So I'm getting to a point now where artists will message me, hey, I recorded this song. I would like you to come in and engineer all the elements, my voice, my recording, even the beat. I may have bought the beat from someone else, get it to that professional level. And then I quote them what I quote them. And right now it's like a 3-digit number, and there's no negotiation. It's an upper 3-digit number, and that's where it starts at.
No, that's actually what you have to do as a business owner. Eventually, you need to start being firm with the pricing or else you're gonna have individuals who are not gonna take you that seriously,
Yeah.
and you have to be stern. I know exactly what you mean. Is either there's sometimes I do the elevation pitch. Have you heard of that before?
Elevation pitch?
Yeah. There's different versions of it, but in this version, because elevation pitch can be also like a quick introduction, like Born to Hustle is basically a podcast about identifying what ignited the hustle for individual business owners. Well, and it's exactly what we're talking about, right? Another type of elevation pitch that I've learned in sales was you start at a specific pricing, expecting the customer to negotiate. And I'll give
Mm.
you an example on Facebook Marketplace. So when I was in Tennessee, my side hustle was selling cars and motorcycles.
Nice.
And my best friend was a mechanic, and I'm not a mechanic, but I was mechanically abled. So I know how to go to YouTube, watch 40,000 videos, and then just do it myself kind of deal. So on that aspect, what I did was, let's just say I remember this motorcycle. It was a black Honda something. I forgot the name of it. It's been such a long time. It was back in 2020. And I remember I put $4,000 as the base price, even though I spent around $2,800. And some people may say like, "Whoa, that's a $2,000 difference." Well, the reality is, I knew people were gonna be like, "Hey man, I got 3,000, deal," or like,
Yeah.
"Hey man, I got 3,500." I'm like, you know what, bro? Just for you, I'm gonna give you a $500 discount, even though that was actually not true.
Yeah.
Realistically, I spent $2,800 after cleaning it and making it all beautiful. It came out like $3,100. So as long as it was within above $3,100, I was fine. I was happy with it. I
Yeah.
got my return of investment and some more. So that's one different type of elevation pitch where you, let's just say your services are 300, but you're like, hey man, for you, $800. Can we do 500? Of course we can
Yeah.
do 500 because you're still winning at that price point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you ever thought about that before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crossed my mind.
Yeah,
It's
like
yeah.
legit, you on purpose you put a high price, expecting them to start negotiating. Like, whoa, that's expensive. It's like, oh, what would you think will be fair? Mm, I would say, let's just say it's $1,000. Like I would say 700. Okay, you know what, dude? I like you. We built a relationship. Everything that we talked about, stuff like that. Let's do it for 700. That's one good way. That's called the elevation pitch.
Yeah.
So one of them is the most, and normally that price, you don't exaggerate it just to exaggerate it. You actually put the highest price based on the most you can get, like the most you can get. So some individuals are okay paying for that high price, like okay, like the $4,000, and that's fine because that's the highest I could actually sell it,
Yeah.
realistically speaking. Other people are gonna do competitive pricing. No, I'm going for the highest
Yeah.
because I know eventually they're gonna start. I know people will try to negotiate, and that's fine. So I will go for the highest that I can make, and then people will start negotiating the price, and that is fine because it's better to. I would say that it's harder to say, you know what, my real price is $600, and then people are negotiating with the $600,
Yeah.
and now you're basically now the negotiation because negotiation is I will give you something, but I'm taking something back,
Yeah.
right? So they're giving you, let's just say the negotiation is to lower the price. Well, who's doing the taking? Are you taking something or is he taking something from you? In your instance, it could be the commission side of the aspect that how much can I actually take home?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's just something to think about. So hopefully that will help you because I know in regards to pricing, that's something that a lot of individuals don't know about. Like, how do I price myself? Well, you can either do the wholesale pricing, retail pricing. Retail pricing is normally based on like what would be competitive, and then it could be like the full retail, like the full, like at full price, like the most you can get out of it.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about. So additionally speaking, we're almost on time. I hope that you and I
Oh
had
yeah.
a great conversation and enjoyed it. And what
Thank you.
would be something else that you want to add before we end this?
Yeah. You know what? So yeah, my name's David Chavera. Uh, Ominous Music Style. You can follow me. You can type that in anywhere, and it'll come up. Instagram, Spotify. I would say, hey, I'm a big advocate of love. Love for oneself first and foremost before you can love back to the world. Give love back to the world. I would say to all the aspiring artists, even aspiring producers, my competitors. Like, this music thing, art in of itself is a journey, and it's really helped me learn myself and um, experience the world. And so I say be patient with yourself. And yeah, just all love, all love.
You know what? Me talking to you, I just have one last question.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you even get started? Like, I know you kind of told me about it, but like, tell it to me again, but more like in a way where I can get started if I want to.
Okay.
Like, what kind of software do you use? What kind of like, and try to generalize it. Like, what would be, you know what, for anybody who wants to be doing what David is doing, what would be like a small advice for you that you can give them for them to get started?
Yeah. So there's a lot of, so I guess the very first thing is, if you have a computer, first thing you want to have a computer. If you don't have a strong computer yet, that's okay. Work with what you got. If you don't got a computer, do it on your phone. Type in music production software for whatever your device is. So if all you got is a phone, music production software for your phone. iPad, same thing. Computer, same thing. If you have a Mac, which is what I have, GarageBand is a solid software. I used it for a long time. I personally, over the years, I've done a lot of them, but right now I use Ableton Live. I have the full version, which is like almost $1,000, but the basic version, I believe, is about $80. And I would say start there. Don't try to generalize. Just as you were saying, start with something you like. Like, if you like jazz music, don't chase hip hop just because you want to make money. That's not it. Start with some jazz. If you're a real musician, figure out a way to, maybe get a microphone, whether it's a USB that connects to your laptop, or research the different types of microphones. Doing music production, you end up becoming a little bit of a tech junkie, because you have to figure out how things work. You have to learn basic stuff, just like connecting stuff to your computer. Sometimes you got to read these manuals and it sucks, but you got to do it. And so I would say, look up the basic stuff. Don't go in spending a lot of money thinking it's going to make you good, because I've been humbled by 15-year-olds using their phone. So start with basic, start small, start with something you like. YouTube is great. There are a lot of resources on the internet. And then if you follow me on Instagram, Ominous Music Style, just send me a DM. I'm happy to give direction wherever I can.
Okay, that's awesome. And not just to end it, anything else that you want to promote? 30 seconds to promote anything at all. It could be yourself, it could be a business, it could be a sponsor, it could be anything else. Like, you have 30 seconds, anything at all.
Anything, just Ominous Music Style.
Hoorah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Topo Chico, maybe, because I drink them every day.
Oh, no. All right, man. I appreciate you coming here, and I appreciate everything I appreciate the insight, because I know there's many people who, if there's a statistics that I've learned as a mentor with SCORE, is that there's many people who want to start a business. There's a lot of dreamers, and obviously to start is the hardest part, but even starting is a lot harder than people give credit to, because the learning curve is intimidating. I'm not gonna lie to you. I went through the same thing, and obviously the more people that are gonna be in this podcast, they're gonna see there's gonna be a pattern, and that is, you just gotta start. But the start does suck. I'm not gonna lie. But once you start and you get into it, I'm hoping that all you gotta do is just stick with it. Like, it gets easier, but the hardest part is sticking with it. Because even if it gets easy, the hardest part is still sticking with it.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many cool things that you can do in this world. And to just be something is the hardest part sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you're wearing multiple hats.
Yeah.
And sticking with, like, you're sticking with one. And the reason I'm assuming you're consistent with it is because you have a specific goal.
Yeah.
And you stick with that goal. And individual people are going to have different goals, and that alone is already going to change the game. Even if they follow your footsteps, they're going to dramatically be in a different position than you. Like, even maybe they somehow become really good at, like, not at the like the sound engineering kind of deal, but maybe the singing. Maybe they want to sing, and they start picking up the skill, and then before you knew it, they're just a singer and not a sound engineer as they originally intended. So that's the beauty about this world, in my opinion. That's the beauty about getting into the hustle. Two things are going to happen. Either you build a successful career, in a successful business, or you are successful, or you just learn some really good stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not really losing. You know what I mean? Like, let's just say you start making money in the music industry. You have learned some really good skills.
That's true. Yeah, that's a really,
Some
really solid perspective.
yeah, you're gonna learn. You learn some really good stuff. So let's just say you want to do a different passion. Like, let's just say you just want to be a creator. You got the skills. You have more than just. You have more than the ability to do so. So, for those of you listening, just get started. That's it.
Yeah.
We'll wrap. So, thank you for coming to
Yeah,
Porn
thank
Hustle.
y'all
This
for
is
having
Rohan
me.
Carrion. This is David, and I appreciate for coming here, buddy.
All right,
Hoorah.
thank you.